Celebrate the extraordinary as yours.
Yes, so
Well,
that
both of ours.
yes, but well, it sort of comes from the fact that I'm gay and to be open-minded, and that things in the world are different and difference should be celebrated, and I think that's what it comes from.
Yeah, and 2 points for me. One is that things that may seem odd, different, extraordinary, inexplicable, unpleasant maybe sometimes, often have a valuable difference about them. So that's a strong part of it for me. The other thing is that another one of our mission or our vision is, or belief is, that everything and everybody, every organisation has some valuable difference to offer the world, whether it's extraordinary or not. I suppose actually what we're saying is that because of that, everything is extraordinary, because something has value.
Also, because people take for granted the world in which they live in, and they should probably celebrate that because it is unique and special, and that we all live in our little silos, and we should look around us and go, that's amazing over there. It's different to me, but it's amazing, brilliant.
Yeah.
Don't be fearful of it. Celebrate it.
What's ordinary for you might be extraordinary for somebody else, and that's particularly true of a lot of the clients of ours. That they don't see the extraordinarious. It's easy for you to say, within their organisation or their offer.
That's kind of the same thing that I just said.
But to be yourself, you're unique.
Yeah. So actually, that's about being authentic, though. I suppose if you try to put on an act, it won't work. It'll people will find you out. Much easier to just be yourself, because then people will either enjoy working with you or they won't, and that's kind of fine. There's plenty of work out there for everyone. So being authentic means that you'll attract like-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that there's value in that, because of our belief that everybody has something valuable and different about how they do or why they do what they do, and therefore, let's use that uniqueness. Let's find out what it is. Let's describe it. Let's let the world know about it. So be unique. Be yourself. Believe in your objectives comes from that diagram one of our coaches gave us or shared with us, which is, this is measure of success, this is time. And if you start here and go off on your journey to grow your business, but without some form of plan or objective, you can go off in any direction on that. Whereas if you set yourself an objective, then you may get there one day. You may have to do that to get there, but you may get there. But having set the objective, at least you're going in the right direction. And then the notion of planning back from that and say, okay, what's the step before that achievement? What's the step before it? What's that look like? And what's the step before that until you get back to where you are now? And then you've got a plan of action to your objective you can follow, and there your path will undulate rather than do that or go off in that direction.
There'll be a lot of external forces telling you that that's not where you should go, or things like COVID will happen, and that will change the parameters. But by having that objective, you do still sort of move towards it.
And you can adjust it for circumstances because you've got something to adjust. Without the objective, you've got nothing to adjust.
Flounder.
Yeah. This is my one. So take a moment to grow is a roundabout way of saying keep learning. So I have to admit, I left university / college because I did a postgraduate diploma in advertising and marketing, I hasten to add. And I left there and I said, I don't want to study again. Kind of like I've given up learning. And so it took another 20 years for me to realize that actually you can't help but keep learning. You just, if you're engaging with the world, you will keep learning. So that's one thing. But then it helped me realize that when I did actually re-engage with learning, how fulfilling it was, and actually with that maturity, how much better I was at learning. And that's why I think I suggested it as one of our values.
And I think it's also reflective of the notion of wanting to always innovate, because you only innovate if you've got space to explore and experiment and actually accept that you'll be doing something over here that may not work out. But people often say you've got to be outside your comfort zone to do the best work, but that's also you've got to have time to be able to reflect on it, because marketing can be very the deadline. The problem with that is that you end up just churning stuff out for the deadline. So you've got to be able to step back from it and go, well, why are we doing this? What's going on over there? I need to look at it. And that's important.
And by example, so you've done an Aston University growth program, committed to, paid for, and I've done committed to and paid for a Marketing Research Society certificate in market research, all in the past year, as examples of that.
Yeah.
So it's an awkward thing to say, a good idea doesn't mind who has it, because it kind of doesn't make sense, because it's not real English. But I think people get the meaning of it. And I introduced this to the business from a previous employer who used to say it. And it was about ensuring that creative people that were working for him didn't become prima donnas and say, that's my idea. Because actually, if you start trying to own an idea, you don't give it legs, you don't give it life to breathe, you don't give it the opportunity to evolve. And I think as we've found out in the way that we come up with creative ideas between us, you need that freedom to say the stupid, the ridiculous, and so forth, in order to come up with the great idea that is a result of that interchange. It's not the result of one person, it's the result of
And it's also the interchange between you and the client and other external forces that I think I can recall a couple of instances with clients where they've just sort of said, well, that's your problem to solve that. Whereas we would kind of go, well, no, actually we need to understand, the client probably has the perfect answer deep inside them.
Yes.
Part of our role is to tease it out of them.
Yes, and actually the answer may come from a collaboration between us and the client. So it's not resisting client input, it's including it in the creative solution. One lovely example, I think, from years back is Rolls-Royce ran a campaign a very successful campaign promoting one of their cars, which the copywriter found in the owner's manual. And he'd been reading the owner's manual, and it said, you cannot hear the clock ticking at 60 miles per hour. And so that became the slogan for the campaign. And it was a very successful one in achieving sales for them.
Yeah, so does this slightly come from a feeling that we weren't adding value, or that we were just being yes people? And I think it's this realising that we've got so much experience over 20 years that actually you can offer advice or ask questions or challenge things, and that's actually of massive value to people.
And make a difference where you're perhaps not expected to. And I think you're right. Adding value at every point of contact was, in a way, a challenge to us because we weren't doing it. And although we had started doing it, we kind of got into that lethargy and perhaps that taking things for granted. And this was a value to make us sure that we were exceeding client expectations rather than just meeting them. So the notion that even if the client wasn't having to pay for it, that at each point of contact we would be adding a bit of value that would make a difference for them. I've got to be honest, I think this is a bit underdeveloped, this value, because it's a recent addition.
Yes.
Care for the environment.
So interestingly, we've done quite a lot of work we mentioned earlier, with institutions and that have been developing, processes of looking at the climate and institutions that are looking at how you use biomass in different ways to create energy and plastic from waste and all sorts of things. So we've probably been caring for our environment more than we've realised. But I suppose where this comes from is that we've often been to marketing is such a kind of throwaway industry that people want giveaways. You go to shows, let's say, and people have got tables full of essentially junk that people pick up and then they chuck it all away again. And we've, when we go to shows and have exhibitions, we don't really have anything with us, do we? We have our business cards, and we want a good quality conversation. We don't want to give them a load of flyers or or pens or something that they'll just chuck away. And so I actually think this is sort of almost a much bigger vision for us, in that we're trying to sort of say actually marketing ought to be more sustainable,
more responsible for that, for the environment.
You know, that you need to think about, you know, if you're going to an event, why are you actually giving all this stuff out to people? Because, you know, how many thousands of pens have we all got at home that we've picked up at some event?
And how more inventive and striking would it be if you can find a different way of engaging with your audience than perhaps everybody else's that's going to be kind to the environment? I also think you and I both kind of domestically care for it anyway. You know, recycling stuff, recycling food waste, using seconds, you know, but also, you know, you've got a low emission car, I've got an EV car. Both spent money insulating our homes and things like that. So I think we were doing it anyway. And then we, you know, the green thing and businesses needing to be seen to be doing the green thing and reducing carbon footprint got us involved with Zella, which is an online platform to help people take their journey to reduce their carbon footprint.
So, you know, we've changed the bank that we've banked with for 20 odd years to one that's much more environmentally friendly. They don't invest in fossil fuels and so forth.
Yeah, interesting.
That's the co-op.
Yes, from the HSBC to the co-op, which is an example.
I think there's still so much we need to do, isn't there? But it's this, by having it as a value, you start challenging yourself about what are we doing and why are we doing it like that.
Yes.
And it's great that we now often talk to our clients about, you know, they're having a new pull-up banner and they actually want to recycle all the parts of the old one.
Yes.
Whereas people would have chucked it away in the past, in landfill. And so it's just a journey that I think all of us are on, and we've got no magic, you know, we haven't resolved it in our heads, have we at all?
No, I think we'll be constantly working on it, yeah.